everybody. Thank you for tuning in for the 5th videocast that we're doing for all the players. We hope everybody's working hard, making sure you're doing your at-home practices. Today, I am delighted to be welcoming. I'm gonna say he's a hero of mine. He gave me one of my favourite moments in football or soccer when I was a young kid at the same age as a lot of our players. I don't want to give away his age though. But he's been capped 49 times by the Republic of Ireland. He captained Ipswich and Charlton Athletic in the Premier League. As well as that, he's played with AFC Bournemouth. His name is Matt Holland. Matt, how's it going?
Yeah, good. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. Thank you very much. So we're gonna get straight into it, Matt, if that's okay. So can you just tell everybody a little bit about your career from when you started out as a youth right up to the professional level?
Wow, it's a long journey. It started a long time ago. I mean, my first, football was my love growing up, and from the age of 3, I used to go and watch my dad play on the touchline and run up and down with a ball. My first pair of football boots, I slept in them for a week. It was football was my life, and it was always my passion. I actually moved south of my dad's job from up north Manchester down towards London when I was about 9. And the first professional club I was involved with was Southampton. They watched me playing local football. They asked me to join their centre of excellence, which I did. And I was with them for a couple of years before Arsenal actually asked me to join their academy. And I was with them for, again, a couple of years before they sort of said I was too small. It's a polite way of saying we don't think you're quite good enough at this particular age. But within a year, I was at West Ham. Frank Lampard's dad actually was the one who spotted me playing and asked me to go down to the club and play a game. Played a game, and signed for West Ham and did a couple of years as an apprentice there, cleaning the boots and in from sort of 8:30 in the morning till 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Just training morning and afternoon, and obviously doing all the jobs as well for the first team before I signed a professional contract. And I was at West Ham for probably 2 or 3 years as a professional. I had a couple of loan spells out, one of those being Bournemouth, and eventually I made the trip to Bournemouth simply because I wanted to be playing first team football. I've been playing youth football, I've been playing reserve football, but I needed to be playing first team football at the age of 20, so I decided to make that move permanent. And spent a good couple of years there before moving to Ipswich, then to Charlton, and retired at the age of 35.
Fair play. So it was a good career then.
It was a long career. Yeah, I played over 700 games in the end, and obviously, as you said, played for the Republic of Ireland nearly 50 times. So that was some of the highlights really of my career. Fortunately, got promoted with Ipswich at Wembley in the playoff final. And captaining the team and lifting a trophy at Wembley was always a dream of mine. Thought it might be the FA Cup. Didn't anticipate it being a playoff final, but that obviously was a good second best. Played in a World Cup with Republic of Ireland as well. So there's some really good moments along the way. What I would say is, during a professional career, you have more lows than you do highs. So you really do have to enjoy the highs when they come along.
For sure. So looking back at before you made your breakthrough to the professional level, and kind of going in line with the kids that we're working with, how, especially now, like in today's world where kids spend a lot of time on technology and stuff like that, I feel personally, working with the kids at our club, that this is a good opportunity for them to get out and get with a ball. And just looking back on your career, how important would you have seen those times that you spent just yourself with a ball? And
the ball's your friend, and you should treat it as well as you treat any of your mates, and be with it as much as you possibly can, and practice as much as you possibly can. That would be my advice. I mean, I used to kick a ball in the house and break photo frames and flower pots and all sorts. My mum used to go absolutely bananas because all I did was kick a ball. We had a greenhouse in the back garden that I smashed within, crikey, I don't know when. So I was basically never without of football. I know it's a slightly different time, and obviously we didn't have the distractions maybe that some of the youngsters have got now, like you say, the computer games, etc. But if I have any advice, it would be to spend as much time as you possibly can, even on your own, up against the wall, just stop testing your touch, keeping the ball up, working on your skills. It won't do you any harm. I think when I look back and as an apprentice at West Ham, I spent an awful lot of time after training with a couple of lads and just delivering passes, 30, 40 yards, different types of passes, driven passes, chip passes, just working on all the different facets of my game. And that never stops. George Burley at Ipswich worked on me heavily. And I was 23 when I signed for Ipswich. The learning doesn't finish. Even through your career, you think you might know it all, but actually you don't. And so my advice is work as hard as possible. I'd also, one other bit of advice I'd have for youngsters is don't fear rejection. Don't fear being left out the team. Because at the end of the day, it's only one person's opinion. As I said earlier, I got let go by Arsenal at the age of 13, 14, and I thought that was the end of the world. I thought, my time my dream of being a professional footballer at 13, 14 might have been over. But what I would say is go and prove them wrong. One coach might think you're not really his cup of tea. Another coach might think, actually, he really fits what I'm looking to do and the ethos of my side. So don't fear rejection. I think everyone at some stage will be told you're not quite good enough. It's how you bounce back from that.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a great point. And even within our club, the way we kind of look at the long-term player development where, as you said, it might not just be where we want them to be now, but if you see enough potential, you kind of stick with it. So just moving on, and we're going to talk a little bit. We talked a little bit before we started recording about your son who plays in college, and a lot of the kids within our club, or a lot of the players in our club, would have aspirations that they might have that opportunity to go and play college soccer here in the States. Could you give them any indication of what it's like for any of these, like for your son, and what it means to play college ball, because it's quite obviously competitive out here?
It is very competitive. It's obviously a very good standard. My son was not a bad footballer and played. He played academy level here. He played for Colchester and Ipswich, and didn't quite make the grade. But it was, college football is almost like the next best thing, really, because it is full time. You're training every day, and he's actually in Florida, so it's pretty hot where he is. He's in the Sunshine State, which is not a bad place to be, I suppose. But he's enjoyed his time out there. It is competitive, and he's not played every week, but he's certainly enjoyed being part of the squad, part of the team, and he's really enjoyed his 3 years.
Good. So we're going to go back to you now, and we're going to talk a little bit about the World Cup, because that's the questions that I have for you. But some of our staff have been asking some questions as well, and they wanted to know, like, being a captain in the Premier League, playing in a World Cup, what kind of mental preparation goes into playing at such a high standard?
I always prepared for every game the same. It didn't matter whether I was playing with my mates in Sunday morning, or whether it be, like you say, the World Cup. I played every game as if it was my last, and put everything into it. I was quite competitive. People think I'm quite placid and quite easygoing, but when I cross the white line, although I think I'm able to control my emotions on the pitch, I want to win. And even now, whatever I do, even if it's a board game with a family or whatever it is, I still want to win. I still don't want to get beat by the boys. And when we play tennis or whatever it might be, I'm really ultra competitive. So my mindset, I didn't change much. I think the difference is that the higher you go, and certainly a World Cup, for instance, you imagine the global audience for a World Cup. The whole world is watching, and so that's slightly different in the fact that the pressure's on more. And going into that World Cup as well, we were under a little bit of pressure because Roy Keane had left the camp a couple of weeks before. So, and my position as well in midfielders, where I was sort of playing, we needed to step up and we needed to play well. So there was a bit of pressure going into it, and it is slightly different when there's a global audience like that. But my mindset really didn't change much from any sort of game I played.
Good. And then, seeing as we're talking about the World Cup, can you talk the players through that goal versus Cameroon?
Yeah.
This is Kilbert. Away by Keller. It's broken here to Holland. And the Republic of Ireland are level. Matt Holland. Joy and confine for Mick McCarthy and his coaching staff. What a delightful strike by Matt Holland. He met this ball so sweetly with his right boot. Aliou didn't stand a...
We'd actually gone a goal down just before half time. Patrick and Bomber scored after a run from Samuel Eto'o, who many will know, actually, many of the kids I'm sure will know. And half time, we got a bit of a rollicking off Mick McCarthy, the manager, and we actually responded really well in the second half. And Kevin Kilbam made a run down the left hand side. It was actually a pretty poor cross from him. The defender slipped and headed it into my path, and I sort of came onto it 25 yards out. And all I was thinking was get a good connection, because when it's coming at you, the pace is already on the ball, so really you don't have to put too much into it. It was just a case of getting a good connection. Fortunately, that's exactly what happened, and kept it pretty low into the corner, and it was in before the keeper had a chance to really get down and make a save. And that moment, those 10 seconds afterwards, you just don't know what to do. You know, to play in a World Cup, it's a dream. To score in a World Cup, wow! And my family were there as well. My wife and boys and Dad was there as well. So I sort of, for 5 or 10 seconds, lost myself. Then you'll see me, if you do watch it, run behind the goal, because I remembered where they were. I'd seen them before the game, a couple of hours before. I hadn't seen them for about 3 or 4 weeks before that in the build-up to the game. But I'd seen them, giving them a wave in the crowd. I knew where they were. And then I ran round the back. I'm trying to shrug Robbie Keane off, and Damien Duff, I think, and Mark Kinsella as well. And just to give my sort of family a bit of a wave as well. But those first 5 seconds, I mean, it's just hard to describe, really. You just completely lose yourself.
Yeah, an amazing experience, I'm sure. It's like we're talking to our players about moments where they can fall in love with the game, and that was certainly, that goal was one of those moments for me.
Yeah, and you know, those moments are what you work so hard for as well. And when I say the skill to do that, you know, that keeping it controlled, they were the things I've been, you know, as an apprentice at West Ham. Those are the things that I've been practicing years and years and years for, and all the hard work. People don't really see the hard work that goes on behind the scenes and how much it goes into those moments. But all those practices that I've done, all that training I've done, all came to fruition really in that moment, because that's the sort of thing that I've been practicing for years.
We're going to wrap it up now shortly, so just as we kind of wind down, one of the questions I had for you is who would you rate as the best player you ever played with, and who is the best you played against, and why? I don't want to get in trouble, by the way.
It's always such a tough one. I was asked that the other week, and tried to pick my greatest 11 that I'd played against, and it was so difficult. Luckily for Republic of Ireland, we played against some unbelievable players. I played against Brazil, played against Italy. So I was fortunate to play against some of the very best. You know, Portugal, Figo, Cristiano Ronaldo obviously would come to mind, and a lot of the lads will all know Cristiano Ronaldo. Roy Keane was always a difficult opponent, and he was also a great teammate as well. Played alongside me in midfield, made things a bit easier. So yeah, I'm fortunate really that I've had so many, you know, great teammates and some, you know, great battles over the years as well. I always enjoyed the challenge. I think the bigger the name, probably the more enjoyable it was for me, you know, because you want to test yourself against the very best, and some of those players were the very best, and you know, you're not always going to come out on top, but the challenge against the big names was always something I enjoyed.
Great. Well, look, thank you very much, Matt. I appreciate you taking the time. As I said, you gave me one of the moments that I fell in love with the game. And just, you know, as we spoke about a little bit earlier in the video, we were talking, you know, about this is an opportunity, obviously, for our players to get out and get touches on the ball and stuff. So, just before you go, if you do have any message for them for what they should be doing now with everything that's going on.
Well, I mean, obviously, there's all sorts of things you can work on. You know, you can work on your weaker foot. I think it's always a good time to work on your weaker foot. I remember working with a guy called Julian Dix, and I'm sure the kids won't remember him. He was at West Ham, but he was so left-footed and actually picked up a bad cruciate knee injury and was out for about 11 months. And he worked on his right foot for that 11 months the whole time. And by the end of it, his right foot was as good as his left. You know, it's possible to do that. So I'd say work on your weaker foot where possible. Work on your close control. Work on your passing. I don't know how much room you've got in your gardens and stuff. But try not to break your mum's flower pots and photo frames, because I got into a lot of trouble for those sorts of things. But there's all sorts of things you can work. And you can work on your fitness as well. You know, it doesn't have to be just the ball, because to be a professional footballer, to be an elite athlete, you have to be able to do the physical side of things as well. So you need to work on that as not quite as much as with the ball, but you certainly need to be able to be an athlete as well.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Well, thanks a million, Matt. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks a million.